Hi there! In this video we are going to continue with the CRAP design series and cover the third concept, which is repetition. But first, let's recap what CRAP stands for. CRAP stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And if you've tuned in from the beginning, you know we've been working backwards and we've already covered proximity, alignment, and now we're going to look into repetition. This design principle comes from the Non-Designer's Design book, and we highly recommend giving this book a read. The principle of repetition states that you should repeat some aspect of the design throughout the entire piece. The purpose of this is to once again, like alignment and proximity, unify, but it also adds visual interest to your piece. In any type of visual piece, you'll notice that there already is repetition. So this principle needs to happen as a conscious and consistent effort. So how do we use repetition? Repetition can be shown in many ways. It can be shown in font, bullet points, color, particular design elements, spatial relationships, and many other ways. The key to getting started is to find an existing repetitive element in your piece and to then consciously bring attention to that repetition by amplifying it in some way. With repetition, it doesn't always have to exactly be the same. For example, if you're using an icon or some type of clip art in your work, you don't need to use that same icon all the time. You can use an element from the same stylistic library to show cohesive repetition in your piece. And lastly, what makes repetition so important is that it guides your audience to the order in which you want them to absorb the information. So just because something is laid out, for example, this slide, from top to bottom, it doesn't necessarily mean that they need to read each line all at once. We can guide our audience's focus to jump from maybe here, to here, to here, then down to here. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the order that it's laid out on your slide. Now that we've covered all of the concepts within repetition, let's apply it. Since we're working with a slide, we don't have lots of information on our page, so we're just going to focus on applying one type of repetition right now, which is color. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this word, and I'm going to change it to yellow. Already you can see the first place my eye goes to is that this club is a new club. The second place I want to bring the audience's attention to is the time and date of the club. I'm going to highlight this, going to make it yellow once again, and I'm just going to tweak my slide a little bit as well. I'm also going to change the order of this. I'm going to bring this down. So now that I've made those changes and enforced the rule of repetition, you can see how your eye travels down this piece. The first thing I'm going to see is Coffee Club because it is the most distinct and largest feature on the slide. The next thing I read is new, and then right after that I read Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Then from there you can see the second tier of text, which is the secondary information that your audience would need. Now that we've implemented repetition, let's talk about how to make repetition effective. The main thing that you need to take into consideration is to not overuse it. Let's say I wanted to bring more attention to the location of where the club is happening. I could make that yellow. And I could also make the sign-up information yellow as well because that is also important information. However, visually you could see the slide start to change. And in fact, it actually flipped around where it looks like you've implemented repetition with this line and with this line. So we're gonna go back to what it looked like before. And as you can see here, now we really see this stand out and this stand out. Once again, we haven't done too much to the slide, but the baby step approach of applying these concepts and just tweaking our slide bit by bit will create a very effective and visually appealing piece. Up until this point, we've covered proximity, alignment, repetition, and that leaves the last concept of contrast. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, keep on publishing.